Welcome back. So in today's video, we will be discussing, well actually, it's time to chat. It's another Brave Girl chat. How to overcome feeling like you're not being heard. Now, periodically you will hear background noise and you're probably hearing it now, and that's fine, and it's only temporary. But we're gonna get off on this note here where we have this discussion. Yeah, we definitely need to have it. This one, oh, this one has been brewing for the better part of the last couple of days, probably closer to a week. And I almost didn't speak about this topic just because I didn't know how to go into it. But now, this is the thing about God's perfect timing. I'm now able to elaborate, and while I still don't know how I'm going to start, I have a better understanding now that I have permission. Yeah. So the thing to note here is that whenever you feel like you are not being heard, I'm often referring to conversation and being misunderstood. In this life, you're going to go through quite a bit of things, some very interesting things in which people are going to misunderstand you. And you could be a person that is willing to see the communication, conversation, whatever the ordeal is, all the way through. But what happens if you do that and you've made yourself very clear and they're not hearing you? So I think the first place to start is, thank you, Lord, it's just the definitions of heard and listen, because those don't have the same meaning. When you hear someone, it is a lot different from you listening to one. Listening to someone. When you hear someone, that's often associated with noise. But when you listen to someone, that requires comprehension. Well, in front of that, it requires your undivided attention, provided that this person whom you're conversing with does not require you to do that and idolize that in front of Jesus Christ. I'm just saying. So that's first things first. So let's put that out for the record. When you hear someone, it is not the same as you listening to someone. One requires comprehension. The other one requires, just, it's like hearing makes me think of noise. Okay. Chameister. Hopefully I got it. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Hopefully it's going good with you as well. So in today's video, and I'll edit the title after this live stream is over with, but I'm discussing how to overcome feeling like you're not being heard. So yeah, hearing someone it makes me think of noise. Listening to someone requires comprehension. Matter of fact, I'm gonna look up the definitions here. Hold on, because sometimes you could say stuff, but if you bring it up where it's like actually being seen in text, in literary form, that will help you to, let me see. Okay, so we're gonna look up the word heard, Webster dictionary meaning. Okay, heard. So Merriam-Webster definition, it reads, the meaning of heard is here. Then here, an overview says that heard has multiple meanings, including the past tense and past participle of the verb hear, and a geographical name for an island in the Indian Ocean. So we weren't looking for the latter part. Okay. What does the word listen mean? Give one's attention to a sound. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let me touch on these comments real quick. Side note, emphasis is on the first syllable of my name. I got to practice. I got to practice. Chameister. Did I get it this time? I don't mind practicing because I done told a story about how my name was butchered one time with a lady I used to work with. Oh, I got to practice. I got to practice. I will have to practice. That's just me. That's fine. I'm not bothered by that. Okay. All right. So now that I've pretty much put the basics out and read the definition from Merriam-Webster of what heard means, the definition, and what listen means, the definition. Now, when it comes to a conversation, there are a few handful types of conversation. I'm going to go with the most obvious one because with the title I'm getting ready to change after this live stream goes up. Yeah. That's going to make people understand. Overcome not feeling heard. The first thing that comes to mind to some people, and I know with me as well, when you feel like you're not being heard, oftentimes it comes from a conversation that is where the root cause is there's a misunderstanding of some sort, something that's misheard, something that's misconstrued, something that's miscommunicated, either something that's not said, something is missing or pulled from or not entered into the conversation. Mind you, I'm not an expert on this, so just speaking from experience. So in the sense that it may be something controversial is going on. One good reason I could say that a person on either side of the argument, on either side of the disagreement, feel like they're not being heard is maybe because of their background. If they grew up in an environment where they felt like they were silenced, their voice was taken away, or whenever they would utilize their voice in some kind of way and they were always shut down, if they don't get the help that they need before they enter into their adult stage, and sometimes this ain't the person's fault. Sometimes they're fine when they become an adult and then maybe they encounter somebody in their adult life. Things happen. I'm always of the mindset that what happens to you is not your fault, that traumatized you, put you through something. But what is your responsibility is your healing, is your responsibility. Now, am I saying go out here to every Sally Sue and Tom and Harry and to go get help? No, please get a second, third, or 10th opinion. And what I need to start is, look, God, I need your help. I need to go get some counseling. Ain't nothing wrong with that. See, in the black community, I love y'all, but yes, there's a but. Sometimes they frown upon that. You go get some counseling, and preferably from someone who knows the Lord. Okay, for real, and that's real. They need to know Bible as well as be a mediator as well, because the Bible says to try. I'm paraphrasing here. Try to be as peaceable with all men as much as you can. Bible also says that it is a honor to avoid strife, but a fool will stay in metal. That thing has stuck with me, especially that last one, because I'm just like, okay. So if it's an honorable thing to avoid strife, and I'm about to give you the definition of strife, but it's the fool will sit in metal. Reminds you of mothers meddling in their children's lives. Meddling, being nosy, being fathers do that too. I'm just saying, meddling is associated with getting people's business. Don't know how to have any business of your own. Snooping around, hovering, all this. Nosy, keeping tabs on people, stuff like that. So let's look up the definition of strife. Now I don't normally do this, but it's just what I've been learning. Angry or bitter disagreement over fundamental issues, semicolon, I think, conflict. Okay, let's pay attention to these comments real quick. A lot of people are so focused on misrepresenting what someone's saying instead of trying to understand them. It's extremely pointless, stupid, and a huge waste of time. Yep. Yeah, we finna get deeper off into that. So we just went over the definition of strife. So strife is basically conflict. It's just a more advanced word. Yeah. And a lot of times a person will feel like when they a lot of times a person will if this goes unchecked, they don't go get counseling. That's completely fine. But get somebody who loves the Lord, who is in that profession, okay, and pay for a couple hours on a regular basis. Get the help you need. Do not be ashamed of it. Your healing is your responsibility, not what you went through. So sometimes that'll make a person disheveled, distraught. Sometimes it'll make a person talk louder. And in their mind, even though as an outsider looking in will be like, well, you're still being heard and listened to. You speaking louder has nothing to do with what you're saying. The volume of what you're saying has nothing to do with what you're saying. But in the person's mind, if they don't go out and get help, and by the way, none of this is shade. Like we having a serious talk right now tonight. Um, in their mind, they'll feel like, well, maybe if I say it louder, they will hear me. Not even realizing that they're hearing you, it's just coming off as noise. And when you speak louder and figuring that this is the method and that this is the technique at which I need to approach this manner in order to de-escalate the situation, all that does is escalate further, because if the other person catches on, they're gonna raise their voice, and next thing you know, you got two people acting foolish. I'm not saying y'all stupid. I'm just saying your behavior is foolish. Now you got two people trying to beat one another and hearing one another, and not even realizing that hearing ain't gonna solve the problem. Listening and comprehension will. Because the Bible says, in all you're getting understanding. So if you're getting into see what I did there? If you're getting into a conversation with someone with the end goal of a solution, but you're not getting an understanding, and you're both raising your voices in order to be heard, when hearing someone is not the same as listening. I'm not even going with this with my logic, because I said at the beginning of this live, I didn't even know how to talk about it. So I actually sat on talking about this and almost didn't talk about it until tonight, and I was given permission. You see, I don't, that doesn't make any sense. One of the best things I had to learn to do when in the past I would get into situations, or either it would just be a conversation, maybe they would misunderstand me, maybe they would mishear me, or think something, whatever the matter is, and they wanted to raise the issue to discuss it, or bring awareness to it. I'm always of the thought of, let's have the conversation. That's fine. One, don't disrespect me. Two, don't raise your voice at me. Three, I need you to listen versus hearing me. Hearing and listening, not the same thing. One requires attention, comprehension, reiterating stuff. Okay, so I hear you saying this. Is this what you said? To make sure I understand what you're saying. I have worked in a profession, which I will not name, in which I have spoken to people of many walks of life. And I've had to pick up these skills well over a decade. And I thank God for that. There are people who have probably worked in the same profession, and this is not shade, and they just don't care. And they will go walk right out the door. Okay, well, I'm gonna just do this and this and this. I'm like, okay, well, tell me how your friendships are. Do y'all argue all the time? This not shade. These are serious, legitimate questions that I have. How's that working for you? So when you disagree with them, what do y'all yell at each other, and then agree to quit and go out and drink somewhere? What do you do? That's the What do you do? Yelling at each other don't make a lick of sense. And I'll tell you one good reason why I'm very thankful. I didn't skip this, and I was given permission to talk about it. It took a couple nights. Um, it took a couple nights, because I said, I don't know how I'm going to address this. If you're doing it around children, which you should automatically not do, Those children know more than you let on. And those children will put two and two together. And if you got them growing up listening to that, they're going to think that's the right way to resolve a problem. And they're going to start yelling back and forth. And because at ages of maybe 2 onward up until 18 years old, their minds are very impressionable. So that means they're going to pick up anything. You ever heard of them stories? And I'm pretty sure you've seen many on these worldwide internets where people have been called by a principal, by a teacher, at a parent-teacher conference, whatever. I don't know what to do with my fingers right now. Anywho, because that don't matter. And they said, "Oh, well, overheard your child using some foul, derogatory language." And then they asked them what it is, and then what's the first question come to the parent? Well, I wonder where it got it from. Guess who the teacher called? Guess why? Guess why the teacher called the parent in? Because guess where they learn that stuff from? Guess where they learn how to cuss like a sailor, like a grown woman, like a grown man? Guess where they learn that stuff? Home. You get mad, stub your toe, step on their leg. I told you to get this S word out the F way. And then the audacity for you should not be surprised the teacher is now calling you to the office saying your child is cussing because they got it from you. And if you don't do any better, them children's not going to do any better. And I've seen it happen. Oh well, your kid is a problem at school. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But I'm bringing that up just to tie this in here. If the children see that you solve your problems this way, well, I'll just talk louder and I'll be heard. It ain't enough to be heard if the point of the conversation is for understanding. Understanding. The Bible, it said, get an understanding. Get an understanding. Because when you understand something, then you're going to understand a couple things. What the expectations are. Maybe you'll understand there's no expectations. Maybe you understand the thing wasn't as bad as what you thought it was. Maybe you'll understand, walk out of it like, well, I thought this. I misunderstood that. I thought it was this. I heard wrong. I thought wrong. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. But when I became a man, that passage in the Bible also means women. When I became a woman, I put away childish things. Now, that yelling, going back and forth, that's child's play. Am I calling you a child for whoever that does it? No. If the shoe fits, well, you got to take that shoe off and go get some help. I'm not even, this is not shade. None of it is. I'm very serious. You can see it on my face. And if you don't have kids, I encourage you to get this right before you do, because them children are going to pick it up. If you don't have kids, but you have nieces and nephews, I got a whole squad of them. I encourage you to still get it together. Oh, I'm going to just wait till I get kids. Them nieces and nephews don't matter. The lies you tell, you better do it now. I'm practicing with your nieces and nephews because they're probably very young and very impressionable, and they're going to pick up that stuff too on, oh, well, I see auntie yell back and forth at people. No. Just because you grew up seeing that type of communication and problem resolving and conflict resolution style don't make it right. Because when they gonna grow up and by the grace of God, they probably gonna learn better. They gonna say, well, auntie was wrong. Well, uncle was wrong. Well, dad was wrong. Well, mom was wrong. Or whomever they garden with, they was wrong for how they handled that. Because I know, since I've been an adult, I've looked back at situations at how my elders would handle things, and I'm like, they was wrong for how they handled. They shouldn't have did that. And see, that's what maturing will do for you. Getting out amongst other people and growing and developing. When you become an adult, you get exposed to all types of environments and peoples and talk to people of all walks of life. Young, old, babies, grandpas, grandmas, and everything in between, aunties and uncles. You learn a lot. Let me address these comments right quick. Okay. A lot of parents are too prideful and don't want to take responsibility for their influence on their children's cussing. That part. And I always tell people a similar phrase: if the shoe fits, wear it. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. Right. Something that God taught me. Um, it's been, hold on, been about 7 years. Probably has crossed at least the 7 year mark. It was, I won't even say the year that I went through it, but this particular year I had been going through stuff where people just kept telling lies on me. Like this must have been a test of some sort that God wanted me to pass. So that way I can just, you know, kind of use all the tools that I learned for the next season, whenever that would start. So this whole year, I just in and out. I kept having real grown adults, people's auntie and them, not necessarily my auntie and them. It was just a bunch of adults, people, places, situations, and they were really trying it, telling lies. They kept bringing up who I was and saying, it's amazing how you'll grow and develop, and then maybe the people who have seen that version of you before the new you, because in Christ you're a new creature. Then when you start developing into a completely different, more mature person, then it's like every time you see them, hey, how you doing? I remember when you used to do this. Can you just? I want so bad to be like, can you please let that go? Ma'am or sir, can you please let that go? And it was that type of thing. It's like, as much respect as I have for you, I still command the same respect. And yet that was happening that entire year. And so something that God taught me, he said, well, if you know that this particular thing that they're saying about you is not true, why are you worried about it? It took me a couple weeks. It took me a couple months to practice that. So whenever a person would tell a lie, God would ask me, hey, don't come into agreement with that. If you searching in your heart and you're going and doing all this stuff, like, okay, well, I know I'm not this anymore. I do this. I'm not the same woman I was such and such time frame ago, whatever that time recollection looks like. Then if you know this stuff is definitely not true, why are you letting them worry about it? The only reason why they're bringing it up to you, that what you used to do, is because they want you to worry about it to pull you backwards. Now, am I perfect at that? No, but I'm 10 times better than I was almost 7 years ago. That's a technique I'm just like, I got to the point where I was just like, you know what? I would politely say something, but then they would still kept pressing forward. And after a while, I had to remove myself out of their presence. I had to be like, you know what? I see my presence is making you agitated, and you're going to keep bringing up the past. You want to keep bringing up the woman that I no longer am, and instead of acknowledging who I don't live off of the acknowledgement, but at least you could be like, hey, I'm proud of you, at the least. But I don't hold my breath for that, because the only validation I need is from God. That's it. That's all. That's the post. That's this video. And whenever I feel like a person isn't hearing me, I go to God. I tell God, I put it in the Dropbox. Hey God, what's the name? Ain't hearing me about such and such, whatever the situation is. However long the situation been going on, however deep the issue is, however on the surface the issue is. Hey God, such and such ain't hearing me about A, B, and C. I need you to get this to them through someone else. Can you please do that for me? And he always answers. I remember a time, and let me address the comments right quick before I tell that testimony. Okay, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's tongue-tied today. Help me, Jesus. I'm for real. I'm not taking the Lord's name in vain. Okay, I'm for real. I'm doing a lot of talking here, and soon I'm gonna need me something to drink. Water, H2O. If there's one thing I can't stand, it's slandering someone's name. It's disgusting. Sociopathic, it's antisocial behavior. And people who just jump to conclusions and believe the slander are just as problematic and hypocritical. Pretty much. Pretty much. But to tell the quick testimony, I remember one time, and see, this is the importance of having to learn to lean on God when you feel like people not hearing you. Because if you campaign for folks validation and approval, and then it comes up that, oh well, we not gonna validate you because we don't feel like you can't sit at our table type of thing. If you live by their validation, you will be devastated when the one time you won't get their approval, and then you'll feel like your whole life over with. And God don't want you like that. He don't want you like that. I remember one time I felt like I wasn't being heard, and it involved folks' lives almost being put on the line. I did exactly what God told me to. One time I said what I needed to say. They scoffed, and they blew it off. They did in a way that indicated to me through their body language, like, ain't listening to you. So I didn't get mad about it. By this time, I had been in the practice for a good couple months of just investigating what people would say about me. And then, oh, this isn't true. Let me stop worrying about it. And so I went to God in private, talked to him about it, and I said, since they're not listening to me, I know they'll listen to you, and if they don't listen to you, I don't know where else they're finna get help. Can you do that for me, please? Just paraphrasing. I kid you not. Within the next 24 to 48 hours, I knew they heard God. I knew they heard God. I knew they heard God. It's not a matter of, it wasn't my suggestion in the first place. God nudged me to do it. He said, you might want to warn them to take such and such off, so that way their lives not put at harm, sake, and all, whatever it is. Within 24 to 48 hours, they took that information off. What does that show you? And if you don't get it, that's fine. Rewind it back. God wants you to play this through all the way from start to finish. How many ever times for you to understand it? If you got to stop, pause it, and pray to God, hey, help me to understand what Jessica's talking about. Whenever you feel like a person is not hearing you, take a deep breath, forgive the person, forgive yourself. If you feel some type of way, or if you feel bothered that they're just not accepting you, because that's not your job. And ask God to show them what you were trying to communicate to them. Because if one thing's for sure, I'm gonna use another example. These last two hurricanes, Milton and his third cousin Helene, okay, they might have not been paying attention to God before, but they definitely paying attention to God now since some storms came through. And I'm not being funny when I say I'm being very serious. God got a way to get your attention. So whenever you feel like a person is not hearing you, and you know what you're saying is not crazy, and you know what you're saying, what you're trying to communicate is not crazy, you're not trying to get over on a person, you're not yelling at them, you're not calling them out their name, you're not cussing them out, you're not trying to put your hands on them, you just want to be understood, and for them to use their comprehension and their common sense. I'm not even saying that as shade, like they're just not using it. Maybe something is off based on how they were brought up, or maybe they've gone through something and they've not gotten the help, they've not gotten counseling, whatever it is. Go to God, ask God, hey, can you tell them instead of me? Especially if they be like, I ain't believing what you saying. They keep blowing you off. Let them walk away. Sometimes the strongest person is the one that walks away. Society will have you to think different. That's all. Let me address these comments right quick. Religious, spiritual, or both? Neither. Let me define that for you. I'm in the category of having a relationship with Jesus Christ. Because I've seen the religious side, and from the outside looking in, I've seen the spiritual side. And I don't know if I want nothing to do with now one of them. I got a relationship with Jesus Christ. That's the most effective thing to have. So I'm in the category that not many like to dip their toe in their legs and jump all the way in the pond. Yeah. I can't stay long, but if you don't remember anything else, please remember this for this Brave Girl chat. That if you don't feel like you're being heard, no matter the situation, whatever it is, in conversation, being misunderstood, whatever the matter may be, please know that God hears you. And if you don't know God, now is a perfect time. He there with open arms. He gives bear hugs. He gives reassurance. He lets you know that he hears you and he vindicates you as well. And then after you give your life to him, simply go to God like I'm talking to y'all and say, God, I need help because such and such will not hear me or understand me. Can you please put them in a situation or put them near someone that will explain this to them so they get it and understand it? And then going on about your business. That's one of the most effective lessons I've ever learned in all my days so far, with me being in my 30s. If they won't listen to you, they're hard-headed, that's cool. Don't even say it. Say what you need to say one time. Back off. While you backing off, tell God exactly what you need for them to understand. They're gonna get it. They will either come to you and apologize. Don't count on the apology. Don't hold your breath for the apology. But if they come to you apologize, never say I told you so. Just be like, okay, cool. I forgive you. I'm glad you understand now. And going about your business. Some of them will get the understanding and they will never come to you. Maybe they're too prideful. That's okay too. Yes. A relationship with Jesus Christ. A relationship with Jesus Christ. Christ's fault. Well, not necessarily a term, relationship. Relationship would be the category I'm in. It's better to have a relationship with Jesus Christ because I've seen different facets of what religious looks like, and then I've seen different facets of what relationship looks like. The relationship doesn't have the fear in there. The relationship doesn't have the I can do this on my own in it. The religion has that in it. But that's a conversation for another time. Now, I got to go. I love y'all. Run it back if you just came in. And I will appropriately title this as soon as I can. To each and every one of you, love you, and later, because it's never goodbye.